At my sister's wedding, I was told I wasn't on the guest list. My mother smirked, strangers aren't invited. So I walked away, but then her phone wouldn't stop ringing during the ceremony. My heart still aches when I think about it, even after all this time. I walked into my own sister's wedding reception, gave my name, and the staff looked at me like I was a ghost. "Sorry, your name isn't on the list," they said. And when I looked at my own mother, she just smirked and spat. "Did you really think you were invited? Strangers aren't allowed." I just smiled, a calm I didn't feel deep down, and said, "Then I'll live like a stranger." And I walked away. But I'm telling you, that was only the beginning. During the ceremony, her phone started ringing non-stop. "You know, my name's Mary Wilson. I'm a nurse at a general hospital in the northern part of Chicago. From my hospital window, the city transforms with every season, but nothing beats the quiet beauty of winter snow. It feels like the world gets a little bit kinder under that pure white blanket. Today, after another grueling 12-hour shift, I just dragged my tired body home. The first thing I saw when I opened the door was a small shelf with my dad's photograph. He passed away from lung cancer 5 years ago, and every time I see his warm smile, my chest just tightens. "I'm home, Papa," I whispered, just like always. There's never a reply, of course, but I always feel his gentle eyes watching over me. When Dad was sick, I put my career on hold to be his full-time caregiver. My nursing knowledge was a huge help, but the real lessons came from him, you know? You need to value your own life more. That was one of the last things he ever told me. Looking back, he really understood me. I heated up some leftovers for dinner, nothing fancy, but it was enough. As I ate, I remembered I hadn't answered my mother's call again today. My mom, Eleanor, has been different since Dad died. So much harsher, so critical, especially towards me. But with my sister, Caitlin, she's always been unusually indulgent. This favoritism, it's been there since we were kids. But when Dad was alive, there was a balance. Now, it's completely gone. "Mary, why do you wear such cheap clothes? Surely a nurse's salary could afford something better." Or, "Mary, you're becoming just like your father, stubborn and self-centered." Learn from Caitlin, at least she's thinking about her future. Her words always have thorns. No matter what I do, it's never enough, it's always wrong in her eyes. Sometimes, they used to cut me to tears. Now, I'm just used to it. That's our relationship. I checked the mail, bills, ads. I secretly hoped for a letter from Caitlin, but her communication with me has dropped off dramatically these past few months. Caitlin graduated from law school and now works at a big firm downtown. Most of her college expenses came from Dad's insurance money and my own savings. I chose to prioritize her future over my career, and I don't regret it. I just wanted Caitlin to have a wonderful life, and she's making it happen. A few months ago, I heard she got engaged to Ryan Johnson, another lawyer at her firm. Not from her, mind you, but from Mom. Caitlin is engaged to Ryan. Isn't it wonderful? He's from a top university, a promising young lawyer, the first success story in our family. You could just hear the unspoken message in her voice, "Not you." To her, I'm just a nurse, not successful enough. Since the engagement news, I'd heard wedding preparations were underway, but I never received an actual invitation. At first, I thought, mail delay, maybe? But as the days turned into weeks, my anxiety just grew. I mean, I'm family, I should be invited. Right? "Mary, she's busy. Wedding preparations are demanding, you know." That's what Mom said when I finally mustered the courage to call and ask last week. I couldn't even reach Caitlin herself. Messages or calls from her are practically non-existent. I kept telling myself, she's just busy. I picked up my phone and looked at Caitlin's last text. 3 months ago, "Thank you, Mary. I was really happy. Ryan also liked your present. Let's meet soon." Soon never arrived. Funnily enough, I've actually built a really good relationship with Ryan's family, especially his mother, Barbara. We met by chance through a mutual acquaintance and just clicked. Barbara's a former nurse who now works for a healthcare nonprofit. We share a passion for medicine, and we often chat over tea. "Mary, you're truly a thoughtful person. Caitlin always says she's proud of you." When Barbara said that, I was genuinely surprised. To think Caitlin actually talks about me, and even says nice things? That was a relief. After dinner and a shower, I got ready for tomorrow. It's my rare day off. No special plans, but I was looking forward to just relaxing. Lying in bed, my thoughts drifted back to the invitation. The wedding is next month. Is there still time? Should I buy a dress? What would be a good present? What does Caitlin need? With these thoughts, I finally drifted off to sleep. The morning of the wedding, I woke up early. The soft sun streamed through my window, painting the room in a pale orange. Today was Caitlin's special day. The invitation never arrived, but I just believed that as family, I would, of course, be there. It's what I wanted to believe. From my closet, I pulled out a pastel blue dress I'd bought last month, just for this. It was Dad's favorite color. Not expensive, but for my modest life, it was a bit of a luxury. I stood before the mirror, carefully fixing my hair into an updo, attaching pearl earrings, a keepsake from Dad, to complete a simple, elegant look. At least today, you look somewhat decent, Mom's voice echoed in my head. Today, of all days, I wanted to defy those words that always criticized my appearance. On the bed lay Caitlin's gift, a handmade blanket I'd knitted over 2 months. White yarn with small blue flower patterns, symbolizing purity and happiness in married life. It was modeled after a legendary blanket Dad had given Mom when he proposed, a story I'd heard Mom recount many times. One of the few happy family memories. I hope Caitlin likes it, I whispered, carefully wrapping it. On the card, I wrote simply, wishing you eternal happiness. Sometimes, fewer words resonate more deeply. I hailed a taxi to the luxury hotel downtown. Chicago's cityscape was its usual bustling self, but my heart was a whirlwind of emotions, joy, expectation, anxiety. I wanted to celebrate my sister, but that question still gnawed at me. Why didn't I get an invitation? Windsor Hotel, the driver announced. Thank you, I said, paid, and took a deep breath before stepping into the lobby. Luxurious marble, massive chandeliers, flower arrangements everywhere. Just as Mom always said, Caitlin had chosen the finest venue. At the entrance to a grand hall, a young female staff member greeted me warmly. Good morning, may I have the name on your invitation? Trying to sound natural despite my racing heart, I said, Mary Wilson. The staff member scanned the list, then carefully traced it with her finger, double-checking. I watched her expression cloud. I'm sorry, but... She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. Your name isn't on the list. For a moment, I thought, mistake. Perhaps an omission? Could you please check again? Mary Wilson. I'm the bride's sister. She checked again, even consulting a colleague. Her troubled face told me this wasn't a simple oversight. I'm very sorry, Miss Wilson. Your name isn't here. My chest tightened. Was it an oversight, or something else? Something I didn't want to consider. There must be some mistake. Is my mother, Eleanor Wilson, inside? The staff nodded apologetically. Yes, Mrs. Wilson is already in the venue. Still clutching the gift, I entered the hall. It was elaborately decorated, already filled with guests. I scanned the sea of unfamiliar faces until I found her, Mom. She was smiling, champagne glass in hand, enjoying a conversation. My heartbeat quickened as I slowly approached. When she saw me, her smile faltered for just a second, but she quickly turned back to her group, ending the conversation. They told me at reception my name isn't on the list, I said quietly. Is there some mistake? Eleanor looked me up and down, a cold smile forming, the familiar contempt in her eyes. There's no mistake, her voice was low, controlled, so those around us couldn't hear. Did you honestly think you were invited? Outsiders aren't allowed. Her words cut deeper than I expected. I thought I was prepared, mentally. But emotionally? Not even close. Even if our relationship had chilled, I never thought she'd exclude me from such an important family day. But what about Caitlin? Doesn't she want me here either? My voice trembled. Caitlin is about to begin a happy married life. She doesn't need reminders of failures like you. Eleanor's words stung like poison needles. But then, I caught sight of a familiar figure in the corner, Barbara Johnson, Ryan's mother. She seemed to have overheard our conversation, her face etched with surprise. I took a deep breath, pushing down the surge of emotion. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't show weakness in front of her. I see. I understand. Then I'll live my life as an outsider too. My voice was quiet, but resolute. I placed the gift I was holding on a nearby table. This is for Caitlin. Would you give it to her? That is, if it's not too much of a burden for you. As I turned to leave, Barbara gently grabbed my arm. Mary, wait. What's happening? Caitlin said she wanted you to come. She was talking about you just last week. I was confused. Barbara's words and Eleanor's cruel attitude. Two completely incompatible stories. I didn't know what to believe. Barbara, this is a family matter. Please don't interfere. Eleanor admonished her, her tone stern. Barbara, it's all right, I interrupted. Today is my sister's important day. I don't want to cause any problems. Barbara looked like she wanted to say more, but I just smiled gently, squeezed her hand, and said simply, thank you, before walking away. When I stepped outside the hotel, the sky was clear, but my heart was a storm. I hailed a taxi. I want to go home, I mumbled. The driver, seeing me fighting back tears in the back seat, kindly drove off without asking any questions. Meanwhile, inside, the wedding preparations were in their final stages. Music played, guests took their seats. As the announcement for the ceremony echoed, Eleanor's smartphone began to ring. Non-stop. She tried to ignore it, but it just kept ringing. With an apologetic look to those around her, she stepped outside. That's when she heard Caitlin's excited voice. Where is Mary? I said I wanted to see her before the ceremony. Eleanor was caught off guard. She didn't come, she lied, her own voice sounding hollow. What? But Barbara says she saw Mary, she was at the venue. Just then, Eleanor saw Barbara talking to Caitlin, her expression severe. Apparently, she was telling her the truth. When Eleanor returned, the ceremony had already begun. Caitlin, in her beautiful wedding gown, was making her entrance. But there was a hesitation in her expression. As the priest's words progressed, Caitlin suddenly looked around, then stood up. Where's Mary? The venue fell silent. Her voice was a mix of anxiety and confusion. Though stunning in her pure white dress, her distress was clear. Ryan, the groom, stood too, looking confused. Kate, what's wrong? Let's continue the ceremony. Wait, Ryan. Caitlin shook her head. Mary's not here. My sister isn't here. A small murmur spread among the guests. The priest looked around nervously, unsure how to proceed. Barbara stood up and stepped forward, her expression stern, as if about to make a serious announcement. Caitlin, Mary was here, but... She chose her words carefully, glancing briefly at Eleanor, she left. What? What do you mean? Caitlin's voice trembled. Barbara took a deep breath and quietly continued, Mary was told her name wasn't on the guest list and wasn't allowed into the venue. The color drained from Caitlin's face. Pale, she turned to Eleanor, her voice trembling. Mom, what does this mean? Mary is my sister. Why did you remove her name from the invitation list? Eleanor, acutely aware of all the eyes on her, looked deeply uncomfortable. She hunched her shoulders and began making excuses in a low voice. Caitlin, this is your special day. If Mary came, she would try to steal the attention, as always. I just wanted to prevent her from stealing the spotlight on your big day. She always needs to be the center of attention. Anger flashed in Caitlin's eyes. That's not true. Mary has never been jealous of me or tried to steal attention. She's always supported me. Eleanor scoffed. You just don't know her true nature. I was only trying to protect you. The murmuring in the venue grew louder. Ryan looked at his parents with a confused expression. Robert Johnson, Ryan's father, who had been sitting next to Barbara, stood up. He was a tall, dignified man, a senior partner at the law firm. What is the meaning of this? Robert's voice was low but powerful. We thought today was a blessed day when two families would become one. But what's happening before our eyes is... He cut off his words, staring intently at Eleanor. I never thought we would welcome our children into a family like this. I don't want to be associated with people who exclude their own family. At those words, the venue froze in tension. Caitlin covered her face with both hands, her shoulders shaking. The train of her wedding dress spread across the floor, making her look both beautiful and heartbreakingly sad. Ryan rushed to her side, embracing her. It's okay, I'm here for you, he whispered gently, taking her trembling hand. I'm going to call Mary. Caitlin took out her smartphone, tears still falling, and dialed my number. The ringtone continued, but no answer. She's not answering, she muttered, desperation in her voice. Ryan squeezed her hand. She's hurt. She needs time. Caitlin tried once more, still no answer. She let out a deep sigh, raised her tear-soaked face, and began speaking to all the gathered guests. Everyone, I'm truly sorry that things have turned out this way today. Her voice was shaking, but slowly regained strength. Actually, there's something I hadn't realized until now. She looked at Eleanor for a moment, then continued. Mom has been keeping Mary away for months. She wanted me to think all my success was my own achievement. But I wouldn't be here today without Mary. Holding Ryan's hand, Caitlin began to reflect on her past. I was able to go to law school because Mary helped with the tuition. She sacrificed her own career to care for Dad and support my dreams. When I went to my first job interview, she bought me a suit and practiced with me repeatedly. Many guests showed sympathetic expressions. Eleanor blushed and lowered her gaze to the floor. And this dress I'm wearing today, Caitlin slightly lifted the hem of her gown. I wanted to consult with Mary when choosing it, but Mom said Mary is busy. Her voice broke off, fresh tears streaming down her cheeks. Barbara approached Caitlin and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Mary is truly a wonderful person, Barbara's voice was gentle. She's always talking about how much she loves you. Every time we meet, she asks, how is Caitlin? Are her wedding preparations going well? At those words, Caitlin's expression crumbled further. I'm the worst sister. Taking everything Mary did for me for granted. Ryan stepped forward, as if having made a decision. Everyone, I apologize, but we're postponing today's ceremony. Various reactions spread through the venue, sounds of surprise, nods of understanding, small sighs. We believe a true wedding can only happen when the entire family is together, Ryan said with resolution. Without Mary, Caitlin's sister, this ceremony is incomplete. Caitlin looked at Ryan with gratitude and squeezed his hand tightly. Thank you, she whispered softly. Ryan's father, Robert, stepped forward and politely apologized to the guests. Ladies and gentlemen, despite many of you traveling from afar, we have come to this conclusion. Please understand our decision. Then, he turned to Eleanor with a stern expression. I cannot trust someone who doesn't value family. How could you do something so despicable? Eleanor was at a loss for words, standing motionless. Her face was pale, her hands trembled slightly. It was the moment when the false image she had built over the years crumbled in an instant. Caitlin lifted the hem of her wedding dress with one hand, clutching her smartphone with the other. I need to find Mary. I need to apologize to her. Ryan nodded and placed his jacket over Caitlin's shoulders. Let's go together. The two began walking toward the venue doors. On the way, Caitlin stopped, turned back, and looked at Eleanor. Mom, I can't easily forgive what happened today. But you are my mother. I hope there will be a day when we can reconcile. Eleanor couldn't say anything, just cried silently. Caitlin and Ryan held hands and left the venue. Behind them, Robert and Barbara were handling the guests. Barbara called out to Caitlin, when you find Mary, tell her we send our love too. After they left, a beautiful sunset spread across the sky. Caitlin took a deep breath and said, I know where Mary is, pulling Ryan toward the car. My apartment was on the third floor of an old building in North Chicago. It was where I'd lived with Dad, and where I continued to live after his death, cherishing those memories. From the window, I could see a small park, its changing seasonal views my only comfort. Having returned from the wedding, I sat on the sofa by the window, still in my formal attire, ignoring my constantly ringing smartphone. I just stared outside. In the park, children played, parents watched with smiles. A scene that made you feel the warmth of family. Family, I whispered softly. Something inside me felt broken after today's events. The tears had already dried, leaving only emptiness. I'll live as an outsider. I stood up and headed to the closet to take off the dress. I'd probably never wear it again. Around 7 p.m., a sudden knock. I didn't respond, hoping whoever it was would leave. But the knocking continued, and eventually, voices. Mary! Open up, please. It was Caitlin. I didn't move. Mary! We're here. Let us talk to you. This time, Barbara. I was confused. Barbara was here too? Mary, I understand how you feel, but could you please open the door? A male voice, probably Ryan. Hesitantly, I walked to the door. Peeking through the peephole, I saw Caitlin, Ryan, Barbara, and Robert outside. Caitlin was still in her wedding dress, her eyes red and swollen. Taking a deep breath, I slowly opened the door. Mary! Caitlin couldn't wait. She rushed in, clinging to me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Her voice choked with tears, her body trembling. I was surprisingly calm. Caitlin, what about your wedding? Why are you here? Ryan stepped forward and quietly explained. We postponed the ceremony. We felt the wedding without you would be meaningless. I was speechless. Ryan's parents stood there too, smiling gently. Barbara softly said, May we come in? I nodded silently, leading everyone into my small living room, a space I'd created with warmth. Photographs of memories with Dad adorned the walls, medical books and novels lined the bookshelf. Caitlin, still crying, took my hand. I had no idea you were removed from the list. Please believe me, we learned the truth at the venue. Robert continued, his voice calm but with a remnant of anger. Your mother, Mom, removed my name, I said in a flat voice. I'm not surprised, but why? Caitlin asked, confused. Why would she do such a thing? I sat on the sofa and shrugged wearily. Mom has always loved you more than me. I was just a nuisance. That's not true. Caitlin raised her voice. And there's something even worse. With trembling hands, she pulled out her smartphone. Barbara told me Mom has been lying to me about you for years. Lying? I asked. Look at this. Caitlin handed me her phone. The screen displayed old text messages from Eleanor to Caitlin, from 2 years ago. Asterisk, Mary says she can't come to your graduation, she's too busy. Don't worry, we'll celebrate just us. Asterisk, my eyes widened. That's a lie. I applied for time off work that day, but Mom said you didn't want me to come. Caitlin showed another message. Asterisk, birthday present from Mary? Nothing has arrived from her. Don't worry, she's always too busy with her own life. Asterisk, I sent presents every year. My voice trembled. I asked Mom to give them to you. Barbara quietly explained, she also had letters and gifts from Mary, deliberately destroying the sisters' relationship. Why didn't I notice? Caitlin said, blaming herself. I should have questioned what Mom was saying. I remember all you did for me. She took both my hands and looked at me with a serious expression. Law school tuition, the suit for my first job interview, nursing Dad during his illness, it was all thanks to you. And yet tears welled up in my eyes. I had never felt such complex emotions, anger, sadness, relief, and love all mixed together. But why? Why would Mom go so far? I asked in a small voice. Ryan quietly said, I think Eleanor wanted to take all the credit for Caitlin's success. Mary's existence threatened that narrative. Mom was crying when we left the venue, Caitlin said, but honestly, I don't feel I can forgive her yet. Silence filled the room. I stared out the window, lost in thought for a long time. Then, slowly raising my face, I looked at my sister. You are my sister. That will never change. My voice was soft but strong. What Mom did, it may take time to forgive, but it's not your fault. Caitlin's face showed such relief. She embraced me again. The sisters held each other for a long time, as if reclaiming the bond that had been lost for years. Ryan gently approached us. Mary, we want you at our wedding. The postponed one, of course. I'd be delighted, I smiled, my first genuine smile that day. Barbara placed a hand on my shoulder. You're already part of our family, dear. We won't let anyone keep you away anymore. Robert nodded. In our house, family is treasured. That's what matters most. That night, we talked until late, like filling in a gap created over years. We reminisced about the past, memories with Dad, Caitlin's childhood adventures, the good times we'd spent together. Remember that summer when Dad took us to the lake? I asked nostalgically. Of course. When I almost drowned and you jumped in to save me. Caitlin laughed. Dad called you our family hero after that. I remembered then, that Christmas when she was 5, she desperately wanted a particular doll. I told her Santa was busy and asked Dad to bring it. But in reality, I had used my own savings to buy that doll, shopping secretly without Dad knowing. My sister's smile, that was my greatest treasure. As the night grew late, Barbara and Robert decided to leave. "We'll come again tomorrow," Barbara promised, giving me a tight hug. Caitlin and Ryan stood up too, but I stopped them. "Why don't you stay here tonight? I'll pull out the sofa bed." And so, the following Saturday, Caitlin and Ryan's wedding was held in a small garden. Only close friends and family were invited this time. I stood beside my sister as the maid of honor. An invitation was also sent to Eleanor. At first, I hesitated, but I decided, she is our mother. We shouldn't cut her off completely. "That kindness is your most wonderful quality," Barbara had said the day before. Eleanor visited my apartment. She looked older than before, with deep fatigue under her eyes. "Mary," Eleanor struggled with words. "Come in," I said quietly, leading her into the living room. "I've come to apologize." Eleanor's voice was small and trembling. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted to tell you. I knew Ryan's parents had persuaded her, fearing she might not be able to attend her son's wedding either. Still, it was the first time my mother had ever truly apologized. It will take time," I said honestly, "but tomorrow is Caitlin's special day. Let's be at peace for her sake." Eleanor nodded silently. On the wedding day, while helping with preparations, I had a special gift for Caitlin, Dad's keepsake, a beautiful sapphire necklace. "Caitlin, this is for you," I handed it to her. "It's Dad's keepsake. He said he wanted you to wear it." Caitlin was too moved for words, just embracing me. "Dad would be happy," I said softly. The ceremony took place in an atmosphere of love and reconciliation. Eleanor sat quietly in her seat, watching her daughters. I arranged the hem of Caitlin's dress, and we smiled at each other. "I'm so glad you're here," Caitlin whispered. "I'm not going anywhere, I promise," I replied. A year later, in winter, Chicago was once again covered in snow. I returned to my apartment with tired steps after finishing my night shift. When I opened the door, warm air and the small, twinkling lights of a Christmas tree greeted me. My life had changed significantly over the past year. Lunch with Caitlin once a week had become our routine, sometimes in the busy hospital cafeteria, sometimes at our favorite restaurant downtown. We shared our daily lives and memories, as if making up for lost time. "Remember that doll you wanted for Christmas when you were 5? I asked at lunch last week, and Caitlin laughed nostalgically. "Of course. I was waiting at the door for Dad to come home, and you said Santa was busy so he asked Dad to bring it." On the table was an invitation from Caitlin that had just arrived. Merry Christmas. Please spend it with us at our home this year. The card had a handwritten postscript. I have something to tell you. Something very special. I smiled. Last week at lunch, Caitlin had hinted she was pregnant. There hadn't been an official announcement yet, but as her sister, I just knew. I couldn't have missed that special glow when I gently placed my hand on her stomach. Meanwhile, my relationship with Mom, Eleanor, remained complex. Since the wedding, she had distanced herself from the family and lived alone. Once the belle of society, she now found herself ostracized from social circles as her manipulations and lies became known to her friends. Occasionally, I'd hear updates from Caitlin, but I had avoided meeting Eleanor directly. "Mom is trying to change," Caitlin had said last month, "but it's not easy for her either." Eleanor had tried to contact me several times, but her messages and calls were brief, formal. Her pride still prevented her from uttering words of genuine apology. I took a shower and brewed a warm cup of tea. Outside, snow was falling more heavily. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve. Before spending time at Caitlin and Ryan's home, I had a short shift at the hospital. I sat on the sofa, gazing at my father's photograph. "Merry Christmas, Papa. This year will be a little different." The doorbell rang. I checked the clock, 10 p.m. Who could it be at this hour? Looking through the peephole, I saw Eleanor. She was wearing a snow-covered coat, clutching a small bag, her face a mix of anxiety and determination. Hesitantly, I opened the door. "Mary." Eleanor's voice was small and trembling. "Do you have time to talk?" I thought for a moment, then quietly nodded. "Come in. It must be cold." Eleanor came in, brushing off snow. She had changed so much from her once dignified appearance, now she just looked like a tired middle-aged woman. I took her coat and led her to the living room. "Would you like some tea?" "Thank you," Eleanor answered softly. We drank tea in silence. Snow continued to dance outside the window. Eleanor tried to speak several times, stopping each time. Finally, she took a deep breath and began. Mary, I was a terrible mother. I'm truly sorry for hurting you. Tears welled in her eyes. For a long time, I justified my actions and blamed others. But the truth is, I was wrong. So wrong. I remained still, just listening. You always sacrificed yourself for the family. Taking care of your father. Caitlin's tuition, you were a much better parent than I was. Eleanor's voice shook. But I didn't want to admit that. I was afraid to face my own failures. She placed the small bag on the table. This isn't a gift. It's something I should return. When I opened the bag, inside was a small jewelry box. Opening it, I found diamond earrings that had been passed down from our maternal grandmother. After Dad died, Eleanor had claimed they were lost. These belong to you. I stole them. Eleanor lowered her face. I'm truly sorry. After a moment of silence, I quietly said, forgiveness isn't easy. I've been hurt by your words for a long time. I took a deep breath. But perhaps we can restore our relationship, step by step. A small light of hope appeared on Eleanor's face. Tomorrow there's a Christmas dinner at Caitlin and Ryan's home. Will you come? I asked. You are inviting me? Eleanor looked surprised. Because we're family, I answered simply. Besides, Caitlin seems to have special news. The next day, Christmas Eve, Caitlin and Ryan's home was filled with warm light and laughter. Barbara and Robert had also come, helping Caitlin with final preparations in the kitchen. When I arrived, Caitlin rushed out to greet me. Mary! You came. Of course, I laughed. Oh, and Mom is coming too. Caitlin was a bit surprised, but quickly smiled. Really? That's wonderful. Ryan set one more place. A few minutes later, Eleanor appeared with small gifts. She greeted everyone with a nervous expression, looking particularly humble toward Barbara and Robert. Barbara smiled and offered Eleanor a warm cup of cinnamon tea. We all make mistakes. What matters is the courage to acknowledge them and try to change. Before dinner, Caitlin and Ryan gathered everyone for a special announcement. Everyone, we have wonderful news. Ryan said proudly. Caitlin is pregnant. In 5 months, we'll become parents. Amid the congratulations echoing around the room, Caitlin took my hand. Mary, I want you to be the godparent. Having someone with your kindness and strength beside this child. I nodded, tears in my eyes. I'd be honored. I'll love this child with all my heart. Eleanor sat quietly, but tears also glistened in her eyes. And Mom, Caitlin continued, I want you involved in this child's life as a grandmother. The past is the past. What matters is what comes next. After dinner, I was alone by the window, watching the snow. Eleanor quietly approached. What a lovely family, she murmured. It's thanks to you, Mary. Your kindness and thoughtfulness became the power that reconnected the family. I smiled. It's thanks to all of us. Family doesn't work with just one person. Ultimately, my patience and love had broken the chain of hatred and brought a new beginning. As my father had taught me, the power of forgiveness is immeasurable. Eleanor, after a long journey, began to truly understand the pain her actions had caused. She is now making daily efforts to become a true mother. It's not easy, but it's her own path of atonement to restore family bonds. That night, when the whole family took a commemorative photo, I spoke to my father in my heart, can you see, Papa? We've become a family again. In a different way, but definitely a family, outside the window, snow continued to fall gently. The wounds of the past weren't completely healed, but a new light of hope quietly shone upon this reborn family.